In the subject matter video, I made a crack about landscape drawings being boring. Well, the majority of work created by the subject of this week's Artists That Are Awesome renders that statement stupid. And there you have it. I have successfully trolled myself. This might be another one of those videos where I have to issue a trigger warning to any potential pronunciation snobs watching. Hokusai is one of those artists representative of so many of the things that we quantify or recognize as what it takes to become great. He is also the embodiment of nearly every single starving artist stereotype. He was energetic and independent, he created with reckless abandon, but had a fierce work ethic with regards to his craft. He pushed the boundaries of 3 different mediums: painting, illustration, and printmaking. And he was a weird guy, man. He changed his name more than 30 times. Either because he was adopting a new style and didn't want it associated with the old, or he was handing the name off to an apprentice as a sign of appreciation so they could go make money with it, or simply that he was bored with it. His address was always listed as address undetermined because he never stayed in one place long enough for it to become permanent. He said that he wanted to live in 100 homes in his lifetime. He lived to be 90. He never made it to 100 homes. Only 93. For whatever reason he was like this, who knows? But it seems he despised complacency. He always sought change, growth, development, experience. There are a ton of reasons why Hokusai would be relevant for this video. He's one of those artists who represent not just a generation, but a culture. That and his work is awesome, but the reason I wanted to talk about him is he also perfectly represents something else that happens within art that is either horrible or wonderful depending on who you ask. Arguably, Hokusai's greatest achievement as an artist, and inarguably his most known, is the 36 Views of Mount Fuji, a massive landscape series he started in 1829. They are woodblock prints, each one more gorgeous than the next, but the first one in the series is by far the most famous. This is the Great Wave off of Kanagawa. You've seen this image. You know you have. Even if you don't know you have, you have. It's everywhere. Why is this image so famous? It's simple and complicated. It seems to generate peaceful and serene emotions while depicting something violent and raging. It reminds us how small we are as humans against the force of nature, and yet how advanced we are that one of our species grew so masterful at a craft that such a thing could be created in the first place. It embodies Western perspective techniques, but is iconically Japanese. In the end, who the hell knows? Most could simply say, because it's pretty. And if they do, that is a valid opinion and not an incorrect one. The point I'm trying to make is that everybody knows this image and nobody knows Hokusai. Trust me, this is more common than you think. I'll give you another example. This is Alberto Corta. Ever hear of him? Most likely no. He was a Cuban photographer for whom the bulk of his known work was done in the 1950s and 60s, and his work is incredible. This is La Niña, an impoverished girl holding a piece of driftwood for a doll. This image is haunting equally in its beauty and tragedy. Alberto Corta was a great artist that most have never heard of, but you all know his work. In 1960, he took a photo of revolutionary Che Guevara titled Guerrillero Heroico. Then, Irish artist Jim Fitzpatrick photoshopped the image 20 years before Photoshop was invented, and a cultural icon was off and running. I'm not saying that there is anything wrong with this. I'm asking how you feel about it. It seems like the ultimate artist's devil's bargain, doesn't it? Everybody knows and loves your work, but nobody knows it's you who made it. At what point does your work no longer belong to you? Most would argue either romantically or practically that the answer is well, as soon as you put it out into the world. Hokusai was long gone before he could see the massive reproduction of his image, but Corta wasn't. He had a front row seat to a lot of people making a lot of money off of his image, almost none of which he saw. But he's also the timekeeper of a moment that exists because of his skill and being, and one that will likely outlive all of us. Immortality and fame are not mutually exclusive. You would do well to figure out which one you care more about, but you would do even better to realize that both are just as likely as their opposites, and none of them are in your control. But had a fierce work ethic when it... You distracted me, buddy! Hey!